Diana, Scorn of the Moon. You wouldn't think it by looking at her now, but Diana, she was raised within the Solari cult. Faith. The religious faith. Mount Targon wasn't actually her real home. Her actual original story starts with a couple of Solari that were out hunting, and they spotted a baby all bundled up in a blanket. Unfortunately, it looked as if her parents froze to death next to her, and it was pretty evident that they were not from the local locale. They brought this mysterious baby Diana to the temple, indoctrinated her. Oh, God, there I go again. They taught her the ways of the tribes of the Last Sun, also known as the Rakor. The standard method of teaching the kiddos of the Solari faith is an over-the-top regimen of religious book learning. That, paired with constant physical training, makes for some extremely buff-toned and ready-to-roll zealots. A core Solari trait is not to question whether scriptures are jammed into their noggins, but Diana wasn't like the rest. She wanted to look past the doctrines them Solari force-fed her. Free-thinking concepts like, why do the Solari act like they have sticks up their butts? Or, is this a cult? I think it might be a cult. On the occasion she had a smidge of free time, Diana had taken a night trip to the library, and upon further review of whatever Solari-approved text she read, it left her with a ratio of no answers, but many a question. As Diana slipped further down the rabbit hole of research, things just weren't adding up. These fancy Solari bestseller books didn't say even the singlest thing about moon stuff. Plus, it didn't take a master detective to see that a bunch of pages had been mysteriously ripped out. Everyone put a cool amount of distance between themselves and Diana. No one wanted to get close to the weird kid who was asking questions. Even her teachers got on her case for not standing in the same line. Despite being taught the ways of the sun, it was looking pretty dark for Lil Diana. The one thing that kept her going, dare I say, like a ray of sunshine, was Leona. See, Leona loved to engage Diana in a debate, as opposed to straight up telling her what to believe. They'd do their best to sell their views off to one another, but neither ever bought what the other was offering. Both of them spent long hours just talking about their viewpoints on this and that and the other thing, and as they spent all those hours conversing circles around each other, they became best buds. On a very special night, Diana was wandering about the mountains. Only thing lighting her path was the moon. Then she stumbled across an eensy-weensy room, and in there 'twas something she had never seen. A mural up on the wall showed not just golden sun warriors, but silvery-looking ones too. They all seemed to be standing as far up in the sky as a normal human could go, which would be the tippity-top of Mount Targon. This revelation made Diana click her heels together with glee, and she ran off to go tell her budster Leona that the sun and moon were actually homies, not enemies. Immediately wet blanket. Immediately. That was Leona's reaction. She cared about Diana, so she didn't instantly go and tattle on her to the higher cult religious leaders, but in as serious a tone as she could, told Diana to cut it out with the free and critical thinking. If the higher-ups found out, it'd be bad. Harsh discipline would be a-comin' her way. Diana, being quite sane and swimming in a sea of crazies, didn't know what to do. She had already learned everything that the Solari had to teach her, but it didn't take an astute sleuth to figure out the whole story wasn't being told. Even Leona was mentally stonewalling her, so, left with little choice, she needed answers, damn it. Diana opted to scale the great Mount Targon. It squeezed every last ounce of juice Diana had to make it to the top of Targon. It was agonizing, and the only thing that got her through that vertical trek was her thinking about proven truths to Leona and the rest of them Solari, about how they were only seeing a small frame of the whole picture. Diana was almost blinded by the light twinkling off the full moon when she reached the top. She gazed up, drinking in its glory, when all of a sudden she got blasted. Continuously blasted by the full power of a targeted moonbeam. She felt off, different. Little hints here and there of memories that couldn't have been her own. She remembered the Lunari, the currently hidden other side of the Rakor faith. Confused for just the briefest of moments, it finally clicked. one of the celestial aspects must have taken the liberties of selecting her as its host. After a bit, the lunar light that had been blasting her faded away, and everything went back to normal. Not really at all, though. She was in a full suit of shiny, silvery armor, and in her hand was a sword. Well, more of a sickle. Imagine if a sword and a sickle had a child. She was holding pretty much that. But that wasn't all. Diana had always had such dark hair. People would say, "Wow, Diana, what dark hair you have, so dark. Wow." Not anymore, Buster. It was silvery white, like the moon above. And imagine Diana's surprise when, out of the corner of her eye, she saw Leona standing right next to her, but decked out in a sun-type armor, and a shield, and an actual sword that doesn't have bends in it. This is what typically is called a very big deal, and Diana was absolutely giddy that she had a chance to share this experience with her buddy Leona. However, all Leona wanted to do was go back to the Solari instead of forging a path forward together. Diana pleaded, appealing to the logic centers in Leona's brain, which were a tad underdeveloped, so they fought. Their new god aspect powers blasting off sunlight and moonlight every which way in a fantastic spectacle. Diana didn't want this fighting to go on and on and on and on, and it was obvious Leona wasn't going to be the one to put an end to it, so Diana took off down the mountainside, and as she put distance between her and Leona, she couldn't help but pat herself on the back. She was ultimately right about all those hunches in the Solari not letting on about the past, and by the heavens, Diana was going to let them know how wrong they had been. Diana made her way to where the high Solari priests were chilling in their chambers, shoving the Raharuk guardians to the side. She enlightened them with the knowledge that had tucked itself away in her mind, of the Lunari, how they used to be buddies with the Solari, and, that she was the aspect of the moon now. The priests reacted just about as well as you would expect. Terror, denial, and most importantly, they called her an affront to the Solari, that she was a heretic, even that she worshipped false gods. They had been confronted with the raw truth, and they simply could not handle it, which made Diana angry, and she lost control of that new power she had been blessed with, and then had a little casual explosion of moonlight blast everyone around her to smithereens. Then she ran. Not much of any other choice there, but one thing remains crystal clear in her mind, that the Solari and the Lunari are meant to work together, and that she is starting down the right path to claim her destiny. No longer just some rando Solari acolyte, she seeks to find out what fate has got on its plate for her.